We have to give up our guns, all of them.
We can't. If you keep it and they find it, someone dies.
I'm not losing you or Carl or anyone else. I'm not losing anyone else.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. Today I wanted to discuss the state of Rick's relationship with Michonne in The Walking Dead, and also how Alexandria may possibly meet the Kingdom. This is all speculation on upcoming events in Season 7, so feel free to state your own opinions down in the comments. Possible comic book spoilers ahead, along with anything in the show up to the most recent episode, 704 Service. So first off, a lot of people speculated that Michonne would want to break things off with Rick after the Season 7 premiere. Although most weren't ready to jump to conclusions yet, some people still created rumors that Richonne would be no more. Now, whether this was theorized based off of some of Andrea's actions in the comics, or if people just want Michonne to stir up some drama, they have already tried to imply that something might happen between them. Let me just come right out and say that Michonne and Rick have obviously been through a lot together, and their bond as friends and lovers fits them so comfortably in the TV show. Michonne was practically their saving grace of Season 3, bringing back that baby formula to the prison, along with the intel of Woodbury, and the fact that Maggie and Glenn got kidnapped by Merle. She saves Rick again from the governor, along with backing them up in every situation since. Rick and Michonne are both very diverse characters that honestly help level each other out in a very compatible and natural way. Michonne's personality can actually be perceived quite differently in the show than in the comics, as it seems that she is more suitable for Rick in the show. I love the way they have crafted this, and I'd like to believe that the relationship they have is strong enough to withstand something as complex as Negan and the Saviors. They have enough to worry about right now, and in my personal opinion, Rick and Michonne would just want to continue to support each other no matter which one of them falls down. Now, there is always the possibility of Michonne being all dramatic and leaving Rick somehow, but I would hate for that shock to happen, and I would definitely argue against it. So in episode 704, we see a lot of implied defiance from Michonne as she interacts with Rick throughout the episode. Now, her and a lot of the other residents of Alexandria actually don't believe that falling in line to Negan is a final positive solution, and that eventually something has to be done. This could honestly parallel what the fans of the show most likely feel, just wishing for some type of leverage. This reminds me back of last season in Season 6 where they had Maggie wondering if Glenn was alive or not, and it was kind of like they were showing how the fans felt in that moment. Even though Michonne stresses that they got everything they have from fighting, she is eventually helped to realize that no matter how hard they fought, they would be completely outnumbered no matter what. It would be horribly pointless to even attempt to challenge the Saviors on their own. They bring up the hilltop, but consider it next to useless as it only has a small handful of fighters and wouldn't even help put a dent in the comparison to soldiers. They didn't even know about the Kingdom or anyone else that could possibly help them at this point, so they are stuck in quite the position. Bottom line, Michonne tells Rick that she'll try to accept things with how they are. As defiant as Michonne is, she doesn't want to lash out and make the situation worse. At least I'd hope not. This forced acceptance of hers immediately ties over into her seeing their mattresses burnt on the side of the road the next day, as she becomes overwhelmed with rage. She literally just accepted things for how they were for herself and towards Rick, and now she sees this? It is only suitable for her that she would be the one to find the pile of mattresses, as this horrible case of insult to injury implies to her that things will continuously get much worse. The Saviors will obviously continue to hinder and inconvenience Alexandria just for the shits and gigs, with no end of it ever in sight. And that really backs up Michonne's statement towards Rick when she asks him, what kind of life is this to live? Is it worth living just to hand everything over to the Saviors with your tail between your legs? How will they ever be able to enjoy their lives, advance their community, or even sleep at night when they have Negan to constantly fear in the back of their heads? Eventually, Michonne may say enough is enough to Rick, but hopefully if it comes to that, it will have perfect timing with their introduction to the Kingdom. Now let me explain. As the show has mentioned many and many times before, the Saviors completely dominate when it comes to numbers. They have the biggest army and can therefore back up their system. But what if that eventually changed? If the Kingdom formed some sort of future alliance with Alexandria, they could definitely work together to accomplish some sort of greater goal. I am unsure of how exactly Alexandria will come into contact with the Kingdom, as they like to switch things up a bit in the show compared to the comics. So will Rick still be the one to discover them once again? If I could choose myself, I wouldn't need it to happen the same as the comics whatsoever, as long as it flows naturally with the story at hand. Carol and Morgan took over Rick's initial introduction to King Ezekiel and Shiva with Jesus, so how else could this play out? Would Sasha possibly be brought to the kingdom? And as a matter of fact, is Jesus even aware of the kingdom's existence? In the comics, he was one of Ezekiel's close friends, but we have no idea if that's the same case in the show. And I know I'm really comparing a lot of comics to the show right now, and there may be a lot of you that don't even read the comics, but I really appreciate how closely the show has been following the comics along. They've really done it justice, as they've reimagined the comics in about the best way possible. So as a comic book fan in one hand and as a TV show fan in the other, I'm honestly happy in both fronts. Looking at the show from an outside perspective, I'm reasonably content with the type of season we're getting right now. Even though it's not action-packed like the beginning of Season 6, they've really been broadening out the story and setting up a lot of foreshadowing, along with a lot of character development, which I believe will have very satisfying payoffs down the line. And now, kind of circling back, I am hopeful that we will see a lot more of the kingdom during the rest of Season 7, as I would like to flush out their inner controversy as far as keeping the saviors a secret from the rest of the community goes. Ezekiel believes that most of the kingdom would want to fight back against the saviors if they knew what was up, and knows that that is a battle which can't be won. Is it possible that Morgan could eventually inform Ezekiel about Alexandria and Rick? He knows that Rick wants to fight against them, and figures that they could possibly help. Morgan doesn't want people to die, and he believes all life is precious and yada yada, but he does want to be mature enough to make the right decision for everyone. He really wants to respect people's decisions along with their opinions and perspectives of the world around them. I am really looking forward to more character development with Morgan, and I wonder how he'll have a play in the overarching story. Morgan asks Benjamin if he thinks that Ezekiel is right in thinking that they shouldn't fight. And yeah, Morgan doesn't want to start a war, but you know, he has to think about his people. So will he bring up Alexandria and Rick to Ezekiel? Or even better yet, what if Morgan decides to travel back to Alexandria and report everything he's learned? He could always head back to Alexandria in the hopes of bringing good news about Carol and the kingdom, since Rick has no idea if they're okay or not. When you think about it, it's only been a few days since Rick and Morgan went their separate ways, and Morgan did tell him not to go after him if he didn't return. It's not like Morgan has forgotten about Alexandria, and now with Carol in her new house, and with Ezekiel on his side, he could always feel comfortable enough to make a trip back there. So what do you guys think? Will we see more promo pics of Morgan riding a horse this year as he may go back to Alexandria? Or if not, how else could the kingdom possibly run into them? Is it possible that members of the survivors could run into soldiers from the kingdom out on runs to get supplies, as they may need to scavenge further out than they were used to get supplies for Negan? Let me know your guys' opinions in the comments section below, and also feel free to hit that thumbs up button if you've enjoyed anything I've said today. I have recently been completely overwhelmed with support and positive vibes from you guys, and I couldn't be thankful enough. But that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.